What's up, YouTube? It's your boy AP, and I'm back after tons of real in-game testing to bring you my absolute favorite Endgame Stormweaver setup right now. Today we're talking about Warp Stormweaver, and the best part, it just works with absolutely no investment required, so anybody can get started on this. In this video, I'm going to show you all the pivots we made to that original Stormweaver League starter to make it faster, smoother, way more fun, all the while removing the focus on infusions to become easier on our hands. Now, for context, I have streamed back-to-back 24-hour sessions testing a lot of different setups. My own thoughts on infusions is that some of them are a little bit half-baked, and my advice for the campaign, if you're still going through it, would be to spend 1 to 2 Exalted Orbs on the trade website for a build-optimized weapon, which will at least double your damage. There is a weighted sum search for that ideal weapon on both the original mobalytics League Starter landing page, as well as the current mobalytics page for this setup. So please go back and check out that link if you need to. As for the Warp Stormweaver, I did not start using it until basically the end of the campaign. But looking back in hindsight, you could easily swap to what I'm doing as early as late Act 3. So while I personally didn't do this, a lot of my stream actually did, and the feedback was overwhelmingly positive for the Warp Stormweaver setup. So let's go into the core concept. The idea here is simple. We deal damage while teleporting forward through the map. It's fast, flashy, and super fun gameplay. Here's how it works. We shoot ball lightning forward into packs, then we cast lightning warp on those mobs under the ball lightning. The warp pulls us forward instantly, stacks overlapping explosions that wipe out the screen. By running Unleash on Warped and Multi-Shot on Ball Lightning, you get maximum carnage with just 2 clicks. I suggest putting Ball Lightning on your left click and then tapping or holding right click for Warp. This naturally chains the overlapping lightning blasts, and the result is massive overlapping clear for mapping, as well as instant looting because you're warping directly onto a trail of monster corpses. Now, what about single target boss fights? This league added Abyss monsters, and honestly, they're harder than most map bosses. For these, we've got a separate single target combo setup. It's inspired by my original league starter, but we've smoothed it out through testing for maximum power with maximum comfort. So the rotation is attached in this mobalytics guide, and I'll also hop into the game and demo it in my hideout so you guys can see exactly how it plays. Now, what about the gear and passive tree? The tree is basically the same as our league start, but we shift away from infusions and lean harder into lightning scaling as well as endgame tankiness. You should think of this as an extension to the league start guide as opposed to a completely separate build. This really is just a ton of optimizations based on the in-game feedback I went through. There are 2 main gearing phases so far on the mobalytics page. We have the budget setup for a league start, and this is just basically capping your resistances with extremely cheap gear. We go hybrid life and energy shield early because it's super affordable and it works just fine. I personally stayed on this extreme budget up until T10 maps, and that's where I just naturally progressed out of it because I could afford to go into Chaos Inoculation. And that is the second setup for mid to late game. I would suggest aiming for around 4,000, if not slightly higher energy shield before swapping. Stormweaver's spot on the passive tree makes ES scaling easy. I'm currently sitting at 7.5k ES and will hit over 10,000 once we polish up the gear a little bit. The CI advantage is insane. You can tank so many hits, making it one of the safest playstyles, and it comes with full chaos immunity, meaning the nastiest mechanics in the game, like those purple chaos balls from Ritual Mechanic, or even some rare mobs, those do 0 damage to us. You will eventually become immortal with the CI setup. And with the CI setup does come extra defensive layers on top of it. Aside from the huge ES pool, we have Convalescence. This is a 30 Spirit Reservation gem, and I would consider this to be a panic button that instantly recharges your ES, and it keeps it recharging even while you're taking damage. It's an absolute lifesaver. I also have Katako's Current, which is a 2 Chaos unique pair of gloves. These apply a 5-second stun through the use of the electrocution mechanic. And the tiny cast speed penalty that comes with these gloves is nothing compared to how strong a 5-second disable is, especially while you're teleporting through these chaotic fights. So the mid-budget CI setup is affordable enough to give you short-term goals and real tangible progression, even on a 0 budget league start. And what can you expect next? Right after this video goes live, I'll be booting up the stream. I want to see how much we can improve the mobalytics page for the Warp Stormweaver. I'll be trying to add some trade links for the mid-budget CI swap, and we'll be refining the guide as we go. Right now, I'm still only moderately invested. My staff is probably worth like 3 to 5x. I still have to transition into a proper wand and focus setup and upgrade just the rare pieces of gear as well. There are so many upgrades, which means you can expect an update video soon as I push this build even further. This is a new mobalytics page for the Endgame Warp Stormweaver budget build. I've decided to keep this separate from the League Starter because already I feel like people aren't reading the information on the League Starter guide. I'm getting a lot of questions that are answered in the actual guide. So I want to have a new page where I can focus entirely on endgame information to avoid making it too wordy and overwhelming. So let's talk about this briefly, and then we're going to hop in game and I'm going to need to demo some stuff in the client. So for this build guide, we start off explaining how to play the build, how the skill rotations work. Then we quickly go into 2 separate build variants. There will be more as we progress further into investment. So the very first is going to be the absolute budget setup. So this is extreme poverty. Maybe you're still in the campaign, maybe you just reached maps, you have nothing to invest. So on this tree, I actually even provide trade links for every piece of gear with very low expectations, just the bare minimum to get going. So for example, let's look at the budget weapon option. For this one, something you're going to have to be mindful about is your current level. For example, some of these, this requires level 58. Let's just assume, for this example, you're level 40. You're going to have to open up the filter and go down to say your maximum level is 40. And I don't know how much money you have. I put a budget of 10 Exalted Orbs. If you have more, you can increase it. But I'm just going to pretend you have a budget of 3 because you're just starting out. So you're going to change that, and then you're going to search. And you need to click the sum button to sort from best to worst, and they are all at least 3, if not cheaper. So this is showing the best option for you is 464 power, and what that means is we've just put weightings on the approximate value of each mod, and this just has the most potential on it. And something to keep in mind, actually hold on, this is not sorting properly. I didn't click it. The best one is actually 614. So just to give more information, this one, it already has 2 socketed runes in it, and it's under 600 power, but this one is 607 power and it doesn't have runes. So that means we can actually improve the amount of damage on this one by putting on the, I'd recommend iron runes. So this is a no-brainer, right? It is stronger with more potential to get better. And actually this one also even has an open prefix. So you're going to be able to use the new abyssal crafting mechanics to add on another prefix to make it even more powerful. So I would say this is an extreme value here. This one, unfortunately, even though it's slightly more power, it's corrupted, which means you can't add a second socket. You can put something in the socket, but you can't have 2. Also, it has an open suffix, but since it's corrupted, corruption means you can't add modifiers. So just briefly looking at the top 3, this one stands out as a clear winner. And yeah, that's how you would proceed. And you can do that for every single piece. And something to keep in mind is as the league goes on further, there's going to be more and more search results. And if it just so happens that there's over 10,000 search results, it will start to brick. And it will show you 10,000 random pieces of gear that match the filter. And if that happens, you're going to have to, well, on the weapon, because this is actually getting close to 10,000. If this is above 10,000, the weighted sum, make it stricter. Say, I don't want to see anything below 550 power. And then it is going to show you a lot less results, and it'll make sure it shows you the best. But not everything you actually search by weighted sum. For the body armor, you can just click energy shield, and it'll show you the highest energy shield value for this budget. And again, you can keep in mind such things as if there's no iron runes, it's going to be, there's more potential for growth, right? Because you could socket in 2 iron runes here, and it would be much higher than 629. And the tree. So we have Chaos Inoculation to make us immune to chaos damage. And we unspec a lot of damage just to get really tanky. Because when you switch to CI, you need to have a lot of stun protection because stun is based off of your life pool, and now your life pool goes down to 1. So we're getting some stun protection, some more stun protection, and you are going to feel a lot beefier in this setup. One thing to note, if you are CI and you feel like you're randomly dying with full energy shield, you cannot take this node because it's 5% of damage bypasses energy shield. That means anytime you get hit, you're going to die. I think there's also a mana flask modifier or maybe a life flask modifier that pulls some of your life and gives you more mana, and that will instantly kill you as well. So make sure you avoid those two things. And yeah, that's it. Obviously, we're going to be fleshing out this guide more as we go forward, but I wanted to have some baseline information that you guys can work off of as a written guide. Now, in game, I am going to talk about a few things. Let's just turn the volume down. So, as we said earlier, you're going to left click and then hold down right click and you teleport and just blow up the screen. However, for some monsters, this isn't going to be enough damage, so you're going to want the full damage rotation. So that I like to just have all of the rotation in an easy to piano order on my keyboard. So for me, it's Sigil of Power first, then it's Elemental Weakness, Ground Curse, and then we hit Orb of Storms twice. And now we can just, launch ourselves into the boss, and it's going to detonate those Orb of Storms, and it's going to generate these lightning infusions. Now, when the Orb of Storms get detonated, you can put down a couple more if you want. And after you have these lightning infusions, you can choose to optionally shoot arc, and the arc is going to consume those lightning infusions, or you can just keep ball lightning into the guy, whatever feels more comfortable. They're both pretty nice damage. And as for setting up this combo, in order for Sigil of Power to even get this, because it's not a skill gem, you need to have a Chiming Staff. But you don't actually have to get this on your main weapon. You can just put it in your weapon swap. And the way the tree works for this actually is you're going to have weapon set 1, which is all your damage nodes, and weapon set 2, which is for your Sigil of Power. So these are purely damage, so we're going to keep those on weapon set 1. And these are purely damage, so those are also going to be weapon set 1. And now for weapon set 2, I'm opting to get some area of effect, some more area of effect, and some more area of effect, as well as skill effect duration and skill effect duration. The reason for this is now this thing by default is quite small. It's really big, and you do a lot more damage as you spend mana while inside of it. So you can sort of like dodge around. And also the skill effect duration means this is going to last way, way, way longer, and you're not going to have to be pressing those buttons as much. Elemental Weakness is also getting affected by skill effect 2, and that's why this curse looks so massive. And the way you are able to do this is by going into your skill settings, and Sigil of Power you can't change. It's just on weapon set 2 because it's built into the wand. But for everything else, all your damage skills, make sure you only check number 1, not number 2, so it only works on weapon set 1. And that means if I'm on weapon set 2 and I press any skill that's locked to only weapon set 1, you don't have to press the weapon swap button. It automatically weapon swaps for you, and it's instant. You won't even notice it. I never press weapon swap. So Lightning Warp, weapon swap 1, Ball Lightning, weapon swap 1, Arc. I would say this is an optional skill. You don't even need to use it, but weapon set 1 if you're using it. Orb of Storms, weapon swap 1. LE Weakness, weapon swap 2. Let's look if it's weapon set 1. It's this size. Now we put it on weapon set 2. Only weapon set 2. It's massive. It's a little trick. And I mean, technically you could put Mana Tempest on weapon set 2 and it would be bigger. And if you wanted to use this, it's a damage boost. I actually rarely use it because it starts to drain your mana. So I actually kind of want that to be small. And let's talk about why you don't want your mana drained. You actually want to be at full mana at all times, and that's why this build invests so much into mana regeneration. We use Zenith II support. And this gives us a ton of mana regen because 25% of supported skills are recouped as mana. What that means is as we're spending mana on any skill that has Zenith II, it is giving us 25% of that mana back over the course of recoup, which I believe is 8 seconds. But it's very nice to sustain the mana. But the problem with Zenith is you only get the 30% more damage multiplier if your mana is above 90%. So we stack so much mana regen that as we are spending our stuff, it's very hard for it to dip below 90%. And you should be mindful about that. We also get some points on the tree that are recover maximum mana on kill, which is very nice. As for modifiers for the jewel, I feel like this is beyond the scope of this video, but I do have from my 0.1 videos, I have a very good video going over gems. So if you are interested in buying a really good jewel, I would recommend. A lot of this info is actually going to be relevant even though we're not playing Spark, just because we're on Stormweaver, and that is including this jewel deep dive. So the way I bought my jewel, I literally just, well, you would watch the whole video and then you just click the jewel trade link. And this is a weighted sum search for really, really powerful jewels for Stormweaver. And obviously a few things are not important on this build versus Spark. Skill effect duration is not important. And that's it. Everything else is going to be approximately the same. So you can just use that to get a really nice jewel. And I think that covers it. Now I'm really enjoying the setup and I do plan to min-max it live with ongoing content updates. And after that, who knows? I might dive into some high budget Spark experiments. It's hard to say this early, but for now I'm locked into making Warp Stormweaver the best it can be. If you're playing this build and I'm offline, jump into the Discord server and drop your questions in the POE Stormweaver hub for the Anime Princess channel. And don't forget to check out the mobalytics page every day because it is going to get constant updates. Appreciate you guys watching and I'll see you live on stream. Peace.